finding whatever topics that obviously relate to the pandemic, or on top of that, topics that relate to any kind of issue that we care about that we feel needs to be covered, and, we just pursue it. And, the same kind of has been applying with all of our guests. We've called, texted, scheduled, rescheduled, and thus far it's worked out very well. I'm enthusiastic about how the show has been this year. I'm so looking forward to season 2 next year. It's going to be a whole, right about now, we're not sure what season 2 is going to look like, other than it's probably going to feel a little more back to basics after, this maelstrom of an election. And so it'll be great to kind of get back to just kind of goofing around, but also, taking a serious look at serious issues every once in a while.
Can I just say this?
Mm-hmm.
You were made for PR, because I don't know how you turned that question into about you, but you did it.
It was like a 5-minute answer. I was like, damn.
Bro, I was talking about the election.
I cleared 12. Bro, I cleared like 12 emails.
Thanks for the totally clear transition to me. Yeah. I paused.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
That was a great story about where you are with the show. But I was referring more to the election, sir.
Pete's busting your chops as per usual.
The election, election coverage it's not a stranger to us by any stretch of the imagination, because even in our earlier episodes, and this is like earlier meaning February, March, April, where COVID was in full swing, and the episodes did, of course, get political in nature while we still attempted to cover various artistic subjects. It was like, we studied this in undergrad, and for lack of a better word, honestly, it was something that I desperately tried to get away from, because I was in political science and I fucking despised every second of it, because I thought I was going to be some hotshot attorney and realized it was all for vanity. So I switched my major in my senior year, pursued communications, and still graduated at 4 years. The thing is, though, that's not the reason why I left. At least all of it. It was the fact that everyone in undergrad who's a political science major thinks that they have the biggest dick on campus, and I didn't want to be a part of that community, so to speak.
So you just made a podcast with Mancini. Much better.
Well, that's the thing.
Synergy.
Ryan's take in political journalism was I guess you could say, the necessary evil that was going to be placed into the podcast, which I didn't mind talking to Ryan, and I still don't. It's the fact that I would have to do this day by day with other people in class. That is the problem that I had with, having any kind of political opinion or political conversation. So a talk with Ryan is very cathartic, whereas a talk with anyone on CSUN campus in Sierra Hall was just, dude, a bullet to the face is a lot more preferable. Yeah, and I mean, it's been great. The discussions that we've had, and we can only, I guess, hypothesize so much about what's going to happen. Don't think I haven't forget Pete's dismay about Andrew Yang all those months back, but in actuality, analyzing all of the candidates one by one as they've sort of fell from grace,
His
and now
beef
we're left with
His beef with Vince McMahon.
Now we're left with Biden and Trump. It's just like, man, this is reality TV to the max. And, we can, again, like I said, we can only, take so much from it until we're just sick and tired of it. And I think I'm sick and tired of it.
So is it like, it's the finale that we all knew was coming and now it's here and we're not that surprised? Or is it like
Game of Thrones finale?
Or is it like, somewhat relieving, like, maybe this is the outcome that was always going to happen?
I would say coincidentally, this finale is pretty much the advent of our first season. It's the conclusion to it, and I don't know if we should be grateful, but it is a good wrap-up point, because it practically is the end of the year anyway. And yeah, I mean, am I stoked for November 3rd? Sure. I'm stoked for it to be over.
So, with that, I mean, just kind of getting into the weeds of it, have you been able to take anything from the past few arguments, or otherwise known as debates?
No.
Long answer, no.
That's the tweet.
That was an emphatic no.
I mean, other than the fact that, these are two of the worst candidates in American history, and the fact that this is what we've got to face in a pandemic. I mean,
Clinton. So it's another round of the worst candidates.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Biden's certainly more likable than Hillary ever was, but at the same time, it's kind of too late. Donald Trump's already president, and he's already fucked everything up. So, and it's not like Biden's going to be, making a lot of change. I mean, hell, Obama promised a lot of change, and then when all the progressives that were backing him said, all right, let's start fixing things, he basically told everybody, go home. I'm president now, and I need you all to just go back home. But make sure you vote in 2 years for your congressman, and then I'm going to need you in 4 years' time. And so he basically told everybody
How the fuck is that so great? Bro!
Hey, I do voices. It's like what Robin Williams says in Mrs. Doubtfire. I do voices. What can I say? No, I mean, the debates have been terrible. The vice presidential debate only had a laugh because of the fucking fly. And, I mean, outside of that, it's just depressing when you watch it. But at the end of the day, you just want it all to be over. And the fact that this is something that has gone on for so long, and you watch all these bad things happen, you watch COVID happen, you watch Joe Biden slander Bernie on a debate stage, and then you watch Joe Biden just, waffle his way through this remainder of the election. It's just kind of like, well, you know what? He's not Donald Trump, so sure, let's vote for him. But at the same time, is it really going to be that much better after the fact? Maybe. So, it's, again, there's nothing left to gain out of these two candidates. And that's basically why, at least from now until Election Day, I'm probably just going to drop talking about it altogether, because really there's never any news between the last week of October and Election Day. So unless the FBI pulls another, thing out of their ass like they did 4 years ago, with the whole Comey thing. So
as somebody who, is passionate about their civil liberties and follows politics with such a passion, if you're at a point where it's you're just ready to be done with it, what do you say to people who, I'm not pointing any fingers, but everybody knows them, the people at the Thanksgiving table who are like, I vote not to vote. What do you say to those people?
I did have sort of an impassioned exultation when I left last night's episode, because I'm of the belief that it's important to take matters into one's own hands when one happens to vote. And I kind of laid it all out when people say to vote for their hearts, and social media says vote with your hearts, but it often means something else. And what that something else means is to vote blue. Now, when you tell people to go vote, people are not always going to agree with your opinion, and that's just me knocking on my neighbor's door and saying, hey, are you a Democrat, when I damn know that they're a Republican, okay? There's people who are going to think different than you. Where I come from personally is a sense of, well, politics didn't affect my work. The pandemic didn't affect my work. I still fucking go to work, unfortunately. You'd think that with the pandemic and Los Angeles together, it wouldn't be a good match, but but my work, quote unquote, is publishing. It's video production. It's music production. It's a lot of multimedia stuff. So I'm not, how you say, out and about and at risk. Also, my work doesn't revolve anything politically unless it's deeply satirical, in which case I'm poking fun at it anyway. So when people kind of point the finger at other people for being apolitical, I don't think that they're apolitical at the expense of other people. I think that they're apolitical for the sense that they are genuinely not interested in what it has to offer to the general population, because what it has offered for the past 4 years is nothing but dog shit. So, what am I supposed to think when I wake up the next morning that the 2020 election, whoever's elected, whether it be Joe Biden or Trump still, that everything's going to be fixed and, Thanos snap of a finger? No, I don't. And a lot of people put a lot of faith in their candidates, and that's dangerous. It really is, because it really sets the expectations so high, and when these policies aren't achieved, that's a problem. At least that's a problem to them. My advice, and I've done this with relationships in the past, so make of this what you will. You set the bar as low as possible. You'll never be surprised. So,
no bar whatsoever.
No bar.
And to add to that, ultimately, at least, and this is something that I've kind of taken for myself, is, taking the comfort in, like-minded people as myself, that have basically pointed out the fact that, look, we basically have this time around, we have an actual gun pointed to our heads now that we have coronavirus. And so the idea is, obviously, if you vote Joe, he's going to have all these people that know what they're doing. Whereas if we keep Trump, it's just going to be 4 more years of, nobody likes me. Why doesn't anyone like me? Oh, nobody likes me. Oh, Fauci. More people like Fauci, but why don't they like me? It's always COVID. And it's like, dude, do your fucking job. Quit waffling around like a fucking idiot. And the problem is that he is a fucking idiot. He's probably one of the worst presidents we've ever had, next to, like, the guy who gave Lincoln a civil war. So, it's just, there's some level of reassurance, at least a tiny bit, that were Biden to win, you would at least, leftists like myself could feel confident that we can go back and protest and basically demand change from our government. The problem is, unfortunately, that didn't really work for 8 years of Obama. And obviously, every time we try and fight back under the last 4 years of Trump, we keep getting pushback, or we keep getting, called bad names by the Democratic Party. So, it's just like this never-ending struggle. But that's the point of politics, unfortunately. We've had guests on the show prior that are so convinced we're going to be at a civil war, and they're so convinced that, we got to win this fight by marching in the streets. And it's like, no, you got to do more than that. You've got to sit down with people. You need to negotiate. You need to, basically make it clear that things are not going to get better by just making a settlement. And so that's something that I think, as Yoda would say, always in motion is the future, but at the same time, there's at least a glimmer of hope there for people such as myself. So,
and with that, you guys talking about how I can't wait for this whole experience to be over. Honestly, this year, between the Game of Thrones finale and all the stuff that's going on, the NFL, college football.
The Game of Thrones finale was last year.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that, but I was just gonna
let him. It's so horrible.
I was just gonna let him do his
It's
horrible
so horrible that I'm still mad about it.
I'm
still mad about it though.
Just let him get his horrible setup in.
Okay, I'll let him. Yeah,
because I'm still mad about it.
It's been a long year. I understand.
I'm still mad about it. It happened last year, but this year's been so long. It feels like, that shit happened too. But no, pretty much. You look at the fact that I think of some monumental things happening this year. So, the show Supernatural is supposed to finally be ending this year, and there's 4 episodes left, and I kind of just want the shit to be over. I just want to see what happens. The NFL, if it even makes it to the end, I kind of want to see what happens. With this whole situation, at least from my standpoint, because I work in Santa Monica, and a couple people I work with are massive Trump supporters. And Santa Monica's huge Trump, but they're also living in absolute poverty in some places because they can't afford $1,200 a month for rent. But they look down on everybody from every other city, which is interesting to me. You look at just the average person who is, you know, oh,